What up? Give me a second. Oh, okay, I got their ass now. What you came on the gram for? You damn. What y'all came on the gram for? To learn something? All right, so the topic I'm gonna get into today is like we can intertwine it with what we've been talking about last couple days. Said we're not gonna intensely just focus on just Latinos, although I'm going to use them since that's a topic that we just we dealing with right now. I'm going to use them as a springboard to show you why this topic is important, because once we deal with them, then we deal with them the same, or we deal with other nations the same way that we deal with them, because they're fucking our shit up. And I'm going to show you how homos are the ones who open the door for all these other groups to leech up off of us. And we're going to watch a little documentary, and that's what we're going to do. So let me just explain some things. Hold up. Okay, and then we're going to do that right there. And then let me get to whiteness in America. Alright, so pretty much I see you still asking questions. So pretty much what we're going to be talking about today is what makes somebody a minority. We're going to talk about, according to the Supreme Court, the 3 things which you need to qualify as a minority. Then once we define that, what we're going to do is show how Latinos do not qualify as a minority. Okay? And homosexuals and all the rest. But I say Latinos because we just got done talking about them and shelling out an ass whooping for them. So now we're going to justify why the ass whooping has to have been given. You understand what I'm saying? They need a spanking. And Daddy's here Poppy's here to deliver that spanking. You understand? Spanking. Let's go. Okay, don't worry. Poppy's here. Don't worry. I just got to get some juice. But y'all see it. So this what usually happens is like I'll be done with a topic and then people want to still talk about it because, that's just how it is. And then they'll be in my DMs for like the next week just giving me mad ammunition, mad evidence for what I be talking about. So and it be Latinos themselves. Like, since we talking about Latinos, it be Latinos themselves. Or like when you see me talking about black feminists, it be black women themselves that come in and be like, yo, here's some more ammo. Or if I'm speaking against homos, it'll be somebody who's a friend of a homo, if not a homo themselves, that comes and says, yo, maybe this piece of information might help. So that's all it is. All right, hang on. Man, that juice sucks. All right, hold up. All right, ready? So, all right. So part of the reason why we have to talk about this, and then we have to talk about the chart again. So, like, it's probably going to take maybe 2 lives for me to do this, but I'm going to try and have time for it today, even though I got a pack house. So remember, status. Status has to do with white and black, right? Okay, what were you talking about here? Remember, citizenship, second-class citizenship. Or in other words, white and black. So we got to deal with that, right? Why do we have to deal with that? It's important to deal with that because then it'll give insight into the reason why 74 to 75% of the island of Puerto Rico claim that they're white, right? Now, how many of those people on that actual island are descendants of the conquistador or of the Mongols? I wouldn't be able to tell you. Some people are arguing that when you go to the island, it's mostly niggas there. Okay, fine, fair enough. But niggas ain't the only ones on that island. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, two, then we have to deal with, because remember, this is a layered issue. Because not only do you have to deal with the non-Negroes, right? And we'll throw them all in one boat, whether they're Asian or white or mixed. We'll throw them all in one boat because they're not us. So we don't have to care about sifting and respecting who's who. Fuck that. You respect yourself and sift yourself out of the litter. Okay. They don't do the same for us, so I'm not going to give any of these other nations any more respect than they give us. You understand? They group all black people together, even though all of us aren't the same nation of people. So I'm just going to group all of their asses together, and they can separate themselves. But anyway, outside of the pettiness, right? All right. When you talk about the reason why you have you got Afro-Latinos who will claim that they are white, right? Or deny the fact that they're Negro. Why do they do this? Because in the current caste system, you got to understand, in the current caste system that we have, the value is that the lighter your skin tone is and the more modern European you look, the more you get privileges. Excuse me, I'm burping this shit. The more you get privileges in society, the more you get socio-political economic advantages. You understand? So there are advantages, privileges to being a citizen as opposed to second class, right? It's just like taking the plane. You can fly first class or you can get the regular shit. It's up to you, right? So in Puerto Rico, you're seeing a lot of Negroes who are there, who are probably Negroes, selecting to be considered the social status white, right? Now, I'm going to prove that Puerto Rico indeed did select that they are white. Puerto Rico 2010 census white. Okay? See? White population. Let's go. This is a census. Census.gov, right? We're going to go to 2010, and I'm going to take you to update it because it's even worse now. Right? Exactly. Colorism. I ain't no milk came in any color but white. I'm just waiting for this to load real quick so I can show you what I mean, right? Okay, so this is the census, okay? I didn't make this. This is 2010. I'm going to bring it up to 2015 or 17, whichever is the closest, right? Look. Population, right? Okay. I want you to pay attention here. What does that say? About 12.5% consider themselves black or African American. Okay? An overwhelming majority of that island considers themselves to be white. Now keep in mind, this is a social status, right? Do not confuse race with social status, even though race can be applied to social status. You got to understand how this works. Okay? The whole island is supposedly Hispanic or Latino, right? Then how come when you break down the one island, there's how many different demographics of racial groups? That shows you Latinos is not a race. That's first and foremost. So when they're talking about being white, it's because they know about the political, socio-political, economic advantages which come with being labeled white. Okay, so this is why these people will come up here. They'll be darker than charcoal, and they'll come up here and look you up and down because you're claiming to be black, the social status, and they're looking at you like you're stupid. Like, why would you want to associate with something that's at the bottom of the barrel? Not realizing that nigga, you're at the bottom of the barrel whether you claim white or not. Like, you stupid motherfucker. But they don't know that. You got to realize that you American black people, and I'm speaking as somebody who's Jamaican, right? I wasn't American and born in here. I'm first generation. So you American black people, you should tip your hats off to yourself, because you are the pinnacle of this tribe of Israel. I really do believe the ones that are here, a majority of them are Judah. And I think a lot of what we're dealing with in terms of Ephraim being these Afro-Latinos, right? And then Judah being the Negroes that you find here in the Americas, right? So I think maybe that's the confusion, right? We beef with each other, and we're having this beef with each other, and it's for no reason. And it's because Ephraim, the Afro-Latinos, keep wanting to make themselves distinct from the rest of us, right? Keep wanting to label themselves white and separate themselves from the rest of us because they want to gain the advantages within the beast system. They want the socio-political economic advantages, right? Which on a common sense level makes sense. But when you get out of your carnal state and you're dealing with logic and reason and morals and ethics, you start to realize there's some motherfucking coons, right? So we're gonna go even further now, right? Let's go to this here. Definition of whiteness, right? Definition of whiteness. Okay, let's go down to look at all these people who classify. Okay, African Americans, right? Now, the only way an African American can be considered white is if he ends up being a quadroon or an octoroon, and I'm going to explain what that is, because that has to do with the case system. Okay, so all this stuff I printed out, I'm explaining to y'all, right? Other than that, as you can see, it's a very small section for how an African American could be considered white, and really and truly, that's because he can't. Right? So let's go down to not European, excuse me. Okay, notice how they separate Mexican Americans from the rest of the Hispanics. I found that interesting. Why would you separate Mexicans from Spanish? And maybe that's because these are the ones who are directly related to the conquistador. And these ones are probably more Negro than anything else. Still not our people, but they're a little bit darker than the rest of them. So what I did wanted to point out here was, look at what it says. Okay, Hispanic Americans are Americans who have a significant, I got hiccups, motherfucker, let me start over. Okay, Hispanic Americans are Americans who have a significant number of Spanish-speaking Latin American ancestors, while Latin Americans have a broad array. This is important, right? Remember this, because we're going to come back to this. Damn, these hiccups. Latin Americans have a broad array of ethnic, racial, and cultural backgrounds, right? This is going to be key for us. They all tend to be indiscriminately labeled Hispanic, giving that term a racial value. Now, look at how it has racial in parentheses, right? The reason is because Hispanic is not a race, but it's attempting to give it a racial value. Right? It was not until the 1980s, after the years of protest from the Chicano movement, these are the Chinese Latinos, right? The Asian Latinos. It wasn't until then that the United States government created the term Hispanic to classify all peoples. Notice how it says all peoples, not just the people. All people. So this is a conglomerate group. And if they're a conglomerate group, they do not count as a minority. Okay? So it says all peoples, indicating different races who come from Spanish-speaking countries. Now that is linguistics, not genetics. Do you understand? You got different races which speak common languages. That is not indicative of you being a part of the same people, which is why Afro-Latinos are dumb as shit, because a lot of them, like, for instance, they'll be in a room with, let's say, me, a Negro, and then they'll have a Latino to the opposite side of them. They're sitting in the middle. They'll lean over to the Latino and build with the Latino in Spanish before they build with my black ass. You want to know why? Because their dumbass actually thinks that them and that Latino are the same people because they speak the same slave language, like a fucking retard. But we're gonna make them feel so goddamn bad about it that they're gonna stop doing it. All right. So they need to realize that they are not a race and or an ethnic group. They're just a fucking culture, and this is what we're gonna solidify this with, right? Their unification is based around a fucking language. It's not based around common genetics or anything else. You know what I mean? Exactly. So we speak English. So that's like if I see an Afro-Latino over there, instead of me going to him, I go to a fucking white Englishman and start breaking bread like we're the same fucking people. Do you see how stupid Afro-Latinos are? They're fucking dumb. And that's because they're dry bones. So Ephraim need to wake his ass up. And keep in mind, the scriptures tell you that it's Judah who's going to wake up first out of all the tribes to inspire the rest of the dry bones to wake the fuck up. So you American Negroes, there's a reason why you're the most copied people on the planet, because the Most High has a job for you. And it's for you to wake up, start to educate yourselves, share the information between ourselves, and then we go out and we extend the olive branch to the rest of our people. Then when we get everybody and our people ready, sorry for the hiccups, then we can go help these other nations of people. You cannot help yourself until you fix your home. Once you fix your home, the problem's in the home, then you can go to war with anybody outside your house. It's not going to matter. Then you can help anybody outside your house. It's common sense. Okay, so I want to read this to you. The term Hispanic has in recent years in the U.S. been given racial value. In recent years, it's been given racial value, which means that the term Hispanic or Latino is not indicative of race. With the perception of racial Hispanic, look, with the perception. What is perception? Is a perception a fact? How you perceive something is subjective. So that's based on opinion. Okay? Human perception. Right? That is a form of being subjective. When you perceive something, you're looking at it through a subjective lens, through your own lens. So some people may say that Latinos are defined by looking like Native Americans. Others may say Latinos are defined by looking mixed. Right? And you're seeing it right here. So what exactly is a Latino? And Latinos don't even know what the fuck a Latino is. You ask one set of Latinos what a Latino is, they'll tell you one thing. You go ask another set, they'll tell you something completely different. These jackasses, they're making this shit up as they go along. So you got to realize what's going on here, okay? So look, it says Native American race or of a mixed races, usually mestizo, meaning the black grandmother and a conquistador or Mongol father, or mulatto, meaning either a Mongol or conquistador foremother and a Negro father. So mestizos are non-Negroes. Mulattoes are Negro. Do you understand that? Do you see the distinction? One has a black father, one has a black mother. This one hides their grandmother in the closet. This one is where is it? This one is this group right here. You see? Are you understanding? Mulatto, right? This is the mulattoes, right? The mulattoes are right here. They know they black. They don't deny that they're black. Negro. They know it and they're proud of it, right? And then these other ones, all these other groups here, including the white, would characterize the mestizo. Okay, mulatto's here, and then everybody who's not a mulatto, this purple, is mestizo. Okay? And I'm going to show you why it's important to understand these things, because if you don't understand these things, you will not understand Latin culture and the way that they think. Now, I'm not trying to justify the way that they think. I'm just trying to show you how the context of their society and our society is set up, so that you know how they perceive things in their mind, so you know where they're coming from. So whenever they make a point, you can instantly shut them the fuck up, because I know your position better than you. I know the history. You're just a dumb motherfucker who was taught by your foremother to hate Negroes. You understand? That's all it is. That's why a lot of them, they can't say anything but insult, because they're not intelligent. So. And I'm not saying not intelligent overall. I'm just saying in terms of this particular issue, they're non-intelligent. They are ignorant. Okay? And willfully ignorant at that. Okay? So, look at this. So, just remember this. Mestizo is the negro abuela, and mulatto is the father. The father is black. As the majority of people who immigrate from Spanish-speaking countries to the U.S. are the racial origin. Due to this racial perception of Hispanics, even among Hispanic American, what did I say? Even among Hispanic Americans themselves, white U.S. Hispanics and Latinos, black U.S. Hispanics and Latinos. Now, if they were the same people, see, what did I just tell you? There's white or modern European, there's Negro, and there's what? Asian or Mongol. Well, what have I been telling motherfuckers? There's only 3 different phenotypes, right? Bone structure, facial features. That's how you tell what nation is who. Okay? There's 3 different types. No matter where you go on the earth, there are 3 different main types. And then there are the mixed breed mutts in between those types, based on the combinations. And when I break down, these hiccups are pissing me off. When I break down to you the caste system, or the caste system, you'll see why all of these these mixtures and then these main groups come into play, right? So this is what it says, right? This is not my words. Are often overlooked in the U.S. mass media and in general American social perceptions, because most Americans are ignorant to Latin culture. I, on the other hand, grew up with these people. Do you understand? I grew up with the Asian ones, I grew up with the white ones, and I grew up with the Negro Latinos. I grew up with them. So I know their culture very fucking well. That's why I don't like when they come on here and they act stupid, like I don't know what I'm talking about. I've slept with enough of your women, I've met enough of their parents, and I've been enough of your neighborhoods. I've watched Telemundo and Univision. I know your racial TV shows. I listen to your music, so you're not telling me anything. That's why they get mad, because I know them inside and fucking out. You understand what I'm saying? They can't lie about anything. All they can do is sit there and look stupid. Now, for instance, what is this? You know that she's Hispanic, right? Cameron Diaz. So you mean to tell me she's an Israelite? So this is Israelite right here? Okay, so understand what's going on. All right, remember I was telling you the 2000 census? Now read this part. This is what makes it even more interesting, right? On the 2000 census form, race and ethnicity are distinct questions. A respondent who checks the Hispanic or Latino ethnicity box must also check one or more of the 5 official race categories. And for whatever reason, they separate Native Americans from Asians. And Native Americans and Asians are the same race. So we don't have to do that, right? Okay, so over the 35 million Hispanic or Latinos in the 2000 census, a plurality of 48.6%, that's the majority, identified as white. 48.2% identified as other, most of whom are presumed of mixed race, such as mestizo or mulatto. Remember what we were saying, okay? So, look, you got an equal amount of them. You got equal amount of them that say they're other, that say that they're white. An equal amount. So you mean to tell me, so these people, the Latinos who are getting offended at us Negroes telling you about your stinking ass selves, you're going to have to explain that. How come you all claim to be Afro-Latino, but right here, according to at least your 2000 census, nearly 50% of you said you were white, and then, like another almost 50% said other. Okay, and then only 3.2% of you identified as black. So you Puerto Ricans, for instance, would have to explain that. You all claim to be Negro when you can benefit, but when it comes to socioeconomics and politics, you play white. You vote white. So you guys have to explain that. Niggas don't have to explain shit. You understand? Because we on this side of the fence no matter what. But you motherfuckers now, you're the ones sitting on the fence. You're not on either side, and you're not going to keep playing this game. Because we're going to force your hand. And so is God. God's going to force your hand too. Because y'all wicked as hell. Okay? Y'all wicked as fuck. Right? Only 3.2. And you want to know why 3.2%? Why this even exists? Because they probably so goddamn black and so Negro that they cannot deny it. You understand? They're so goddamn black and so Negro, so aboriginal that they cannot deny it. They have no ability but just to accept it. Now, how about the 48.2% who identified as other? I guarantee you a vast majority of these motherfuckers would fit under black. A vast majority of them in other would fit under black. Okay? But because of the social status and the value of seeing yourself as white, what do? They coon the fuck out. And then they get mad at niggas like me for calling them what they are. Fucking coons. Okay? And then we're going to go again. Let's update it. By 2010, the number of Hispanics identifying as white has increased by a wide... So isn't this funny? By 2010, the number of Hispanics identifying as white has increased. Yet you have an increase in Latinos who are claiming to be proud of their African roots. Then why is there an increase of you claiming to be white? It's not making sense. You see what I'm saying? I mean, on this side, I'm like, you're full of shit. And on this side, I'm like, I know they're full of shit, but I want to give them a chance. And it's just like, give them a chance or let them burn. Give them a chance, let them burn. I'm tempted to let you burn and let the Most High deal with you. Because I don't like your attitude. You understand? So let's keep reading it. By 2010, the number of Hispanics identifying as white has increased. Just in case you don't know what the word increase means, we're going to play stupid for stupid. Become or make greater in size, amount, intensity, or degree. To grow, get bigger, get larger, enlarge, expand, to swell. Right? An instance of growing or making greater. Growth, rise, enlargement, expansion, extension, multiplication, elevation, inflation. All of these words are synonyms for Hispanic people moving closer to white. So how do you explain or account for all of these so-called pro-Afro Latinos when you guys go to the ballot booth and you register yourself as white? Explain that to me. I ain't got much hair on my face or on my chin, but I'm gonna stroke this motherfucker. You understand? It doesn't make sense. You house niggas are gonna make a choice. You're gonna shuck and buck for Donald Trump, or you're going to be with Negroes. You got a choice. And this is the time for you to make that choice now. Otherwise, we're going to make the choice for you. Okay? So read what it says, right? Increase by a wide margin. That means it wasn't no small increase. This was a huge increase. Right? So look. Over 50 million people identified as Hispanic Latinos, a majority. We went from 48.6% to 53%. Okay, identifying as white. 36.7% identify as other. These motherfuckers dwindled down significantly, and they all dwindled into the population calling them... No, they didn't. Isn't it funny? There's even less people in 2010 identifying as being black than the 3.2. It's almost cut in half, actually. Isn't that amazing? No, it is. It's more than half. So isn't that amazing that in 2010 there are less people claiming to be Negro and more people claiming to be mixed, 2 or more races, right? 6.6% identified with 2 or more races, 2.5 identified with black. Okay, 2.5 identified with black, and 1.4 identified with American Indian and Alaska Native or Asian, right? And then the rest say other. So explain to me how Negroes could have decreased to 2.5%. Explain that to me. Explain it to me. How could you decrease, but you're so proud of your African heritage, but you don't claim it? But we know what y'all proud of, though. We know that for sure. 53%. You proud of these motherfuckers. That's why on your advertisement and your flyers, all you do is show Latinos who look like this. If I go on Univision right now, I guarantee you don't see no, Negro. Right? Hold on. Univision. Hold up. You're gonna have to get your ass from under my umbrella, Ella. Exactly, they're hypocrites, right? Look, did these... Now, do these look like Negros to you at all? Do these look like an accurate representation of Latinos? So how are Latinos got all this Afro pride, but y'all don't showcase it? Y'all barely even put niggas anywhere.
Es nuestro nuevo centro de información.
Y'all put the most white-looking people that you can, because y'all want to be white.
Es, como pueden ver, moderno, dinámico, fresco y cuenta con lo último de la tecnología en la televisión.
Pero sobre todo es un reflejo de cómo hemos crecido juntos, la comunidad hispana, ustedes, y Noticias Univisión. Veamos. Esta es la nueva imagen de Noticias Univisión. Moderna, noticias...
Look, these are straight up white people.
...informados y tomar decisiones importantes.
Okay, look at this, because they want to be white. Now look, watch this. 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 Just watch. 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 Tell me if you notice anything different.
Spoke emotionally about why their sister was out of the country at the time her boyfriend opened fire and killed 58 people. Sent away some chilling words from the sister's
house.
Okay,
hold up. Let me see. News anchor. There we go. Anchor. News anchor man. Anchor man. Let's see these white people.
How did you feel hearing that?
There you go. A Negro there. But he's not a news anchor. You understand? This is the news anchor right here. What does she look like? Doesn't she look like Miss Telemundo? Let's go back. Let's go back and see if she looked like Miss Telemundo. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Get what I'm saying? Okay, Univision. Let's go to Telemundo. Let's see if it's any different.
Muy buenas noches y bienvenidos.
Let's go to Telemundo. Let's see if it's any different. Let's see who they put up there. Let's see.
Muy bien.
Oh, what do you know? Another white-looking Latino. But I thought you said the entire island is full of Negroes. So then why do they always pick Latinos who look like this?
Filtró que ahora, el martes en inglés, hablé de que se...
By the way, for all the brothers out there, I hope y'all know that these are white women. See, you're sleeping with white women, pretty much. You're going Google Gaga over white women.
Que el presidente quiere usar como canicas de damas chinas del juego a los Dreamers y el DACA y decirle al Congreso.
These are the Latinos who wish that they were white. These are the Latinos who, when they say let's go back to the motherland, they take a trip to Spain. Do you understand? Are you understanding? Understand your place, boy. Okay, these are Telemundo Latinos. That's why I call them television Latinos. Telemundo Latinos, fucking Univision Latinos. They're white people. Okay. Now, I'm not mad at them for being white. I'm just saying that's what they are. Okay. So notice how Hispanics choose to be considered white, right? And look at this. During periods, this is talking about Mexicans now. During periods in U.S. history when a racial intermarriage wasn't legally acknowledged and when Mexicans and Mexican Americans were uniformly allotted white status. Are you hearing this? Where Mexicans and Mexican Americans were uniformly allotted or given, handed white status. So Mexicans have been white since the 1800s in this country. Okay, look at this. From 1850 to 1920, the U.S. Census form did not distinguish between whites and Mexican Americans. Did not. Do I have to look up the word did not? What that means? Just because I'm petty, we'll do that. Did not. Well, let's look up the synonyms for did not. Did not is the past tense for do not. Okay? Using did not is colloquial speech, can sound overly formal, and most native English speakers using didn't is casual conversation and writing. Did not is also synonymous with do not. So let's read it again. From 1850 to 1920, the U.S. Census form did not distinguish between whites and Mexicans, meaning whites and Mexicans were in the same group. Okay, they have always been white. Check this out. Right? Formerly allotted white status. They were legally allowed to intermarry with what today are termed non-Hispanic whites, unlike blacks and Asians. So this has to do with the legalization of marriage. You had Mexicans interbreeding with white Europeans, okay? While Negroes and Asians were not allowed to. So how are they the same as us? You understand what I'm saying? How? All right, y'all gonna cut it out. Okay, we're gonna go to this here. Well, this is what I wanted to do, right? How much time we got here? Okay, I want to get into this part. Okay, strict scrutiny, and we're talking about the Supreme Court and minority rights, right? Because this how we gonna checkmate them. Strict scrutiny is the most stringent standard of judicial review used by the United States courts. It is part of the hierarchy of standards that courts use to determine which is weightier, a constitutional right or principle or the government's interest against observance of the principle. The lesser standards are rational basis review and exacting an intermediate scrutiny. So, in other words, what it means, right? In other words, what it means is, okay, these are the standards or the criteria we use to determine whether or not this is a constitutional issue or whether this is just something smaller. Now, the Civil Rights 1960 Act was a constitutional issue. This had to do with the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment, right? Black people and their citizenship, whether they were second class or on par with white people, which is regular citizens. And we know that we're not, which is why we got civil rights. Okay? If you had the constitutional rights, why would you need civil rights? Come on. Those of you who studied American history, you should know what the Bill of Rights is, and then you should know what the Constitution is, right? The Bill of Rights applies to everyone, no matter what. Now, if that's true, why is it that Negroes had to fight for civil rights? What the fuck did we settle for? We fucked up and we settled for some fuck shit. And we're getting treated like some fuck niggas, and we're wondering why. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, the notion of levels of judicial scrutiny, including strict scrutiny, was introduced in footnote 4 of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in United States versus Caroline Products Co. 1938, one of the series of decisions testing the constitutionality of New Deal legislation. Okay, this is fluff. This is not necessarily important to us. But what I did want to point out to you was this. Suspect classification. We're going to get into this. But applicability, right? What does applicability mean? What applies to you? Applicability, right? This is the quality of being relevant or appropriate. So what is relevant or appropriate to what it is that we're talking about in relation to the Supreme Court and this scrutiny? So the reason why I'm even bringing this up, I'm sorry, this thing is killing my head. The reason why I'm even bringing this up is because we keep fighting, and I want my people to realize that Latinos are not our people. That doesn't mean that you can't be cool with those of them that are cool with us, but you need to realize that not all of them are cool. You got to realize that, because this is why we're getting stabbed in our back, and it's like we're swimming in circles, and all these other races are advancing, and we're the only ones stuck on stupid. And we got to realize why we're stuck on stupid, and get unstuck off stupid, and stop letting these other nations take advantage of us, because that's what they're doing. I'm going to show you how, right? So applicability, what is appropriate, what is relevant. The reason why I'm even trying to teach this material and its relevance is so that we stop having an emotional attachment to Hispanics and Latinos, because they do not have an emotional attachment to us. They use us. They have a power attachment, a socio-political economic attachment. They do not have a love of us being the same people attachment, like how we have for them. That's because our perception is fucked up. What did we just get done reading about the history of whiteness in America? Hispanics and Latinos are perceived to be. It's not definite. So we need to change our perception to how they behave. Am I understood? Am I losing anybody? All right, so everybody's with me. So let's keep going. Applicability, right? U.S. court apply the strict scrutiny standard in two contexts. When a fundamental constitutional right is infringed, right? So when your constitutional rights are infringed, particularly those found, didn't I just mention this, in the Bill of Rights, and those of the court has deemed a fundamental right protected by the Due Process Clause or Liberty Clause of the 14th Amendment, right? So one, you have applicability, which is applied for people with white status, constitutional rights being infringed. And then you have for those of them who applied for Due Process Clause or the 14th Amendment. Okay, this is for us. So they've even split it down the middle. What does it say? Right, having to do with slavery, right? Who were the former slaves? Huh? Are you seeing what's going on here? Let's keep going. Up. Let me go back. We did that 14th Amendment. So now we know what it's talking about and what it's referencing, right? Or when the government action applies to suspect classification, such as race or national origin. Now, this is important. Suspect classification. See how it deals with race or national origin. Notice how race is not in parentheses. Notice how when we read about Hispanic Americans, that Hispanic being a race was put in parentheses. That means that Hispanic does not fit under suspect classification. It cannot, because it's not a classified group, and we're going to explain why. Right? Is a parental rights. Only the 14th Amendment fundamental right denied strict scrutiny protection. Are you seeing that? Right? So this is why the Supreme Court had to do what it did in the 1960s, because this ruling of strict scrutiny was not applied to the 14th Amendment until around the 60s. Okay? So what does it say? The past strict scrutiny, the law or policy must satisfy 3 tests, right? And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what I mean. Okay, here we go, and we're gonna watch this documentary because it's gonna help, right? Look, here's the 3 minority class status, right? Immutable characteristics like race or gender, financial discrimination, and political weakness. These clearly identified by unchangeable characteristics. So you cannot change your gender. You're born a particular way down to your chromosomes, right? And you cannot change your skin color unless you bleach. Without bleaching, these are things which just don't change. Okay? So there's a difference. We have to realize there's a difference between civil rights, right, and special rights. Negroes have civil rights. We fought for civil rights. The rest of these other minorities do not have a claim to what we fought and died for. They weren't fighting and dying for it. So we don't have to share shit with them. And we shouldn't be allowing them to attach themselves, leech themselves like a fucking parasite and suck all the life and resources out of our shit. AKA I-10 and the $4 billion that these Latinos are stealing and shipping to Latin countries to feed their families instead of us getting fed. Are you understanding? Okay? So let's keep going. Right? These are the 3 classifications. Let's read them, right? It must be justified by a compelling government interest. While the courts have never brightly defined how to determine if an interest is compelling, the concept generally refers to something necessary or crucial as opposed to something merely preferred, right? So how are Latinos up here getting discriminated against when they're finding more work than Negroes? So why would they have to have special civil rights if they're not being discriminated against fundamentally? And no, it doesn't count. If you don't have a green card, you not getting work as discrimination. That's not discrimination. You're not a fucking citizen to whatever nation this is. So you're jumping the line for, like, my mother wasn't, my parents are immigrants. They had to wait almost 10 years to get their fucking green card. Do you understand? Unlike some of these Latinos who come in here who fucking cheat. And they come in here and start taking money out of the system before the people who even did it the right way. Do you understand? My parents did it the right way. They had to wait their turn. But you motherfuckers think you're better than having to wait. You think you're better than everybody else. And you don't care about anybody else. You take food out of everybody's plate because you're fucking selfish. Just like white people. Okay? So we keep going, right? Preserving the lives of a large number of individuals and not violating explicit constitutional protection, right? Where have Latinos had their constitutional rights violated? Where? They would have to explain that. Okay, the law or policy must be narrowly tailored to achieve that goal or interest. If the government action encompasses too much, overbroad, or fails to address essential aspects of the compelling interest, then the rule is not considered narrowly tailored. Okay, so there has to be some type of end goal. What is the purpose? It can't just be, okay, I want this. And it turns into law because you want it. There has to be a legitimate, logical, and rational reasoning for it. That's what people need to understand. Okay, the law or policy must be least restrictive means for achieving that interest, meaning you cannot impair another people from being able to progress just so this people can progress, right? So let's go even further, right? Suspect classification. Now, this is the main thing we want to concentrate on, right? The Supreme Court has established standards for determining whether a statute or policy's classification requires the use of strict scrutiny. The class must have experienced here we go. The class or the minority must have experienced a history of discrimination, right? Must be definable as a group based on obvious, immutable, unchangeable, obvious, immutable, these words have definitions, right? Or distinguishing characteristics. So what does that mean we need to do? That means we need to we need to define words, because some people are fucking stupid. Okay? Immutable, meaning unchanging over time. Unchangeable to be changed. You know what that means? Permanent, established, fixed, set, rigid. That means I was born a black man and I'll die a black man. And there's nothing I can do about it within nature that can change that. Do you understand? My skin complexion, there's nothing I can do to change that. Nothing naturally that I can do to change that, right? So we know what immutable means. Let's look up what, where is it at? Let's look up what obvious means, because motherfuckers is dumb, you know what I mean? Obvious. Easily perceived. So my skin complexion is easily perceived. Now, spotting a homosexual is not easy to perceive. Knowing the difference between an Arab and a Latino is not easy to tell, because they're both hairy as hell. They both got goat hair. So how do I tell the difference between an Arab and a Latino? It's difficult. You want to know why? Because they're mixed breeds. You know, Arabs are also a mixed group, right? You're seeing what's going on here, aren't you? You're seeing it, right? So there's nothing obvious about who is a Latino. Like, how do you define a Latino when there's 3 different types? You can't. So there's nothing obvious about it. There's nothing immutable about it. And let's rule Latinos out one more. They love baseball, so let's strike them out again. Distinguishing. So what does it mean to distinguish? Spanish people love baseball, so let's strike them out with 3. Okay, distinguish. Here's the pitch from Randy Johnson, right? Recognize or treat someone or something as different, right? So how am I going to be able to distinguish? How am I going to be able to distinguish Latinos as an ethnic group if they all don't look the same? Think about it. Like, you know what's indistinguishable about me? Immutable, obvious about me? I'm a black man. It's obvious. From my phenotype, my facial features, to my skin color, the colorism, complexion, to my attitude, my behavior, my culture, everything is black. Negro, right? Can't say the same for Latinos. They mix, match, and vary. You understand what I'm saying? I'm about to show you how. Okay. I'm about to show you how. About to show you how. Like, look. Let's go. Where's my one? Now, mind you, you could already tell this is hip-hop, right? This is rap music, right? Watch.
Yeah, so you can catch me on the corner, tranquilo, fumando un blunt. O dos, si ando con del fondo, o si ando con la cuestión, mercancía en el pantalón. Camino atento, que si viene lo suelto. Soy experto en esa situación.
And by the way, yeah, I'm just showing with you because this shit is hard. So I'm not playing this dude at all. His shit is hard. But what you gotta understand is there would be none of them doing that without American Negroes. Please understand that. American Negroes, you are the jewel, the crown jewel out of all the tribes, right? You're the main focus. The Most High prophesied that he'd wake us up first. We'd get a job done, right? Clean ourselves up and get the rest of these Israelites to get off this coon shit, and then we'd be able to unify again. So this is, I anticipate that this is what this friction is, because we've already done ruled out the non-Israelites. We done weeded them out already. We know that these are another nation of people. So now our beef is between each other. So maybe in the scriptures where it talks about there being a difficulty between Judah and Ephraim, this is it. And I've been banking on it for like the last year and a half, that this is the beef. It's the Afro-Latinos versus the Negroes who don't have no choice but to identify as Negro. You understand? And the confusion of faces, it has nothing to do with colorism and complexion. If anything, it might have to do with phenotype, and because a lot of mixing has gone on, that sometimes your phenotype merge, but I can still spot my people when I see them. I know what my people look like. You understand? So that's all it is. But his shit is hard, so I'm gonna play some of his shit for you. My nigga, we are the salt of the earth. We can do this in Arabic. We can do this in Spanish. The 12 tribe chart is garbage. That's why I'm breaking it down. It's garbage. We can do this in Arabic. We can do this in Spanish, in English, in Portuguese, in fucking African dialect clicks, and we can. It's a rhythm. Like, listen to this guy's soul. Listen to the rhythm.
Tremendo culazo del diablo, bebiendo en el escenario con raperos famosos, hablando de negocio con dominicanos peligrosos, gato cuarto con mi socio. La vida de Juan es así, mixeo mis versos con ritmo y me convierto en MC.
Okay, now I'm showing you that just to show you this. I'm trying not to give you somebody corny, but I'm trying to give y'all, I'm gonna give y'all a mortal technique. Okay, I'm gonna just give you something random, just so you can hear. This is another Latino brother, but he's also, his father is Negro. Okay, but he goes hard. Like I've been a fan of his since I was like 13 years old. So I do think that they got to him, but I won't say nothing else. Like, look. There's a song, I forget what it's called, where he raps in Spanish and in English. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the song. Hold on. Because it has to do with how they transport cocaine. What the fuck is it called again? Hold up. Because I want y'all to hear him rap this story. I'm gonna let it die out, and then I'm gonna. Alright, so the song I wanted to play for y'all is called Peruvian Cocaine, and he raps in Spanish and in English. But no matter how he raps in Spanish or in English, keep in mind this is a black dude. He's got an Ecuadorian mother, right? So he's got Mongol in him as well, but he got his father is Negro. Okay, so you're gonna hear the spirit or the rhythm. You know what I mean? Because your spirit is your vibration. We got as a people, we got a particular rhythm or rhythms and patterns, and this is stuff that just comes from the inside, come from the creator. And the other nations don't have this. They can try and replicate it, but it doesn't sound as good as the original. You know what I mean? So, listen.
Support your government receives from the...
And FYI, if you've never listened to Immortal Technique, you've never bought an album, you've never heard of this cat, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but you need to check him out. Like, he makes the type of music that make you want to go to war. Like, if I was to make music, I would try, style-wise, I would try my hardest to give my best rendition of what he does, because he's just phenomenal.
Drug industry. Well, the irony of this, of course, is that this month...
If your father's not black, then you're not an Israelite. If no negro, no negro father, no Israelite.
which is in the billions, is coming from your country. You see, you are the major purchaser of our national product, which is, of course, cocaine. On one hand, you're saying the United States government is spending millions of dollars to eliminate the flow of drugs onto our streets. At the same time, we are doing business with the very same government that is flooding our streets with cocaine.
Now, see what he said? He said, okay, we're spending millions to stop the streets from being flooded with cocaine, but at the same time, the government is allowing the streets to be done up with cocaine, right? That's a perfect example of Hegelian dialectic. Remember what we were saying before? Where is it? Okay, remember? Divide and conquer, Hegelian dialectic. Remember, you see how everything's coming full circle?
Let me show you a few of the other characters that are involved in this tragic comedy.
I'm on the border of Bolivia.
Now, this shit is so hard. Like he really, like the Afro-Latino experience, this dude is like on the bullhorn with it. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, you got to understand, like, this type of music I used to listen to when I was like 12, 13, 14. You know what I mean? So, for motherfuckers to tell me I'm saying what I'm saying, and it's because I'm hating on Latinos, they have no idea about my history, my relationship with these people, whether they're my people or the other people in the Latin community. Like, don't talk to me like I don't have life experience with these motherfuckers. I grew up in New York City. So you don't have any other choice but to grow up with them. Like, come on.
Working for pennies, treated like a slave. The coca fields have to be ready. The spirit of my people is starving, broken and sweaty. Dreaming about revolution, looking at my machete. But the workload is too heavy to rise up in arms. And if I ran away, I know they'd probably murder my moms. So I pray to Jesucristo when I go.
And this is the problem. We still under the curses. We're going through the curses and we praying to the gods that are putting these people over us. Praying to Jesucristo, right? The holy priest trying to pray to the priest. Come on.
To the mission, process the cocaine paste and play my position. Okay, listen, while I'm out there, just get me my product before we chop off your hands for workers' misconduct. I got the power to shoot a copper and not get charged. And it would be sad to see your family in front of a firing squad. So to feed your kids, I need these bricks. 40 tons in total, let me test it indeed. Shit, this is good. Pass me a tissue and don't worry about them. I paid off the official.
Yo, it don't come as a challenge. I'm the son of some of the foulest, elected by my people.
I'm the son of some of the foulest. So when Latinos are electing their political officials, who do you think they're putting in office? They're putting these conquistadors, these bastard children in office. This song puts you on game. I'm the son of the foulest. Who are some of the foulest people on the planet? White people. They're like, so elected by my people. Like, come on.
Born in the valley, born and bred to consult with feds. I laugh at...
Born and bred to consult with feds. So what is he telling you? These conquistadors, these bastard children, are left in charge of these Latin American regions, and they report back to their white daddies. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
fate and assassinate my predecessor to have his place in a third world fashion state. Lock the nation with 90% of the wealth and 10% of the population. A central intelligence agency takes weight faithfully. The finest type of China, white and cocaine you'll see. Honey, I'm home. Never mind when your bank account suddenly grown.
Now he's giving the perspective. Now he's rapping. If you couldn't tell, they're rapping from different perspectives from the chain in the drug command. So one, he's rapping like right now. He's about to rap for the white man who is selling or shipping the cocaine to other countries, like the business white man, the corporate white man. This is his verse right here. So pay attention.
Funny, we're so out of this debt for this money we owe with you. When have I told you that I had two governments overthrown?
I had two governments overthrown to keep our son enrolled in a private school, to keep your tummy swole. Do you understand? So these, what am I telling you here? What are they telling you here? These middle white people, remember I was telling you? The sovereigns, the fake sovereigns, these are them right here. I had two governments overthrown, right? So what do? These are the economic hitmen that they send in, right? Like, nigga, like a Mortal Technique put so many niggas on game.
Keep our son enrolled in a private school and to keep our tummy swollen. Come on, our fucking home was built on a foundation of bloody throats, the hungry stolen of their souls. Of course this country's running coke. I take a stunning oath to hush the ones who know. The CIA conducts the flow for these young hustlers that lust for dough.
Now it went from the white man, right, to the nigga in the hood. Right? And he's about to hit his connect, which is that white dude, right? That business white man. It's literally showing you the trickle-down effect of how crack cocaine gets from one community, one poor community, into another. It's fucking genius.
That's what's really good. It's supply work to the hood. These dudes fucking crack me up. Screwing out like we inferior. Petrified when we be in my area.
Isn't that how white dudes are? They want to do dirt, but they be afraid to come around black areas because they afraid they about to get popped. Right? Let's keep going. Give it a yay yay, Ice Cube. Hey, with my yay yo.
We gon' stop you bastards. My streets families shopping and bagging. Taking pictures and tapping phones. Debating snitches and cracking codes. Fast the couple, blast the phone.
Now it's talking about the police that be in the neighborhood, that be harassing the niggas that be getting the coke. Like, is this all a step process? Like,
like Ice Cube, so don't play with my yayo. We gon' stop you bastards. My streets families shopping and bagging. Taking pictures and tapping phones. Debating snitches and cracking codes. Fast the couple, blast the foe on any hustler stacking toes. Pump and crack a blow. And my overtime is where your taxes go. Again, your trust. Get you the hand wait to us. Cause we paid up front on the low with cameras taping you. Getting pop.
isn't that what we doing? Don't dirty cops do that? They take the drugs off these niggas, then take the money up off these niggas, and then go sell the drugs back to these niggas? Like, come on.
Wait, the prison sentences do. Make the collar leave with 2 keys out the evidence.
He's telling you the cops take the keys, take the pounds from out the evidence room, and then go put it back on the street. Take y'all drug money from the drugs they done stole from you, that like these white people pimping.
You went my fame, truck, boat, or plane, they watching you. You think you got work? They copping too. We control blocks, they lock countries and own companies. We had nice cars and sneaker money. Now it's players out there talking about.
Now this is the regular nigga in the hood that be selling. He's not even the connect. He's not even the next in line to the connect. This is the guy who's the connect to the connect to the connect. He's a regular nigga.
They holding the bucks in their house like they down south with windows open. Ghetto ain't long. You wrong, you take shorts and soon. Better be up in your mouth like forks and spoons. So enjoy the rush, live plush off coke brand. Soon you'll be in a cell with me like Jenny Lopez. In the school, I was a bully. Now life is fully a joke. I keep afloat on a boat for Peruvian coke. Players do favors for governors and tax makers. Fat Quakers smoke crack and sex acts with bad mayors. The walls got ears. You big mouths probably scared. Not prepared to do this. Like Javier. The story just told is an example of the path that drugs take on their way to every neighborhood in every state in this country. It's a lot deeper than the niggas on your block. So when they point the finger at you, brother man, this is what you gotta tell them.
Nino Brown.
I'm not guilty. You're the one who's guilty. Lawmakers, the politicians, the Colombian drug lords.
All of these are white people. The Colombian drug lords are white people. The politicians are the white people. The lawmakers are the white people. Bruh. Modern Europeans, modern Asians. Okay? And then if you want to put the rest of these in the white category, Ottoman Turk Arabs, Latino Hispanics, East Indians, and yes, Africans. Like, this nigga has way great material. But now I want to get to, we did this. We'll get to this. Suspect classification, right? And then we're going to turn on this other thing. So in American jurisprudence, suspect classification is any classification of groups meeting a series of criteria. They are likely the subject of discrimination, right? These classes receive closer scrutiny by courts when an equal protection claim alleging unconstitutional discrimination is asserted against a law, regulation, or other government action. Okay, so let's go down here. Okay, so strict scrutiny is applied to government. This is what we read right before. Strict scrutiny is applied to government actions that affect groups that fall under a suspect classification. The United States Supreme Court has mentioned a variety of criteria that, in some combination, may qualify. This is the most important part. The U.S. Supreme Court, right? These guys with the biggest mouths in the country has mentioned a variety of criteria that in some combination may qualify. So that means a minority group has to qualify with a combination of these things, not just one or not just this or not just that. It's got to be all combination, right? May qualify a group as a suspect classification, but the court has not declared that any particular set of criteria are either necessary or sufficient to qualify. Some of the criteria that have been cited, including the group has historically been discriminated against. Black people check that list. Or have been subject to prejudice, hostility, stigma, perhaps due, at least in part, to stereotypes. We can literally pull out laws where we've been discriminated against. Latinos and Arabs and Chinese. Well, I think Chinese can, but Arabs and Latinos for sure cannot. Okay? They possess an immutable or highly visible trait. Right? Hispanics, we can rule them out because they're not one race of people. It's a culture. So how do you have an immutable physical trait? It's not like all of you have the same or similar skin complexion. Okay? They are powerless to protect themselves via the political process. Now, Latinos could probably fit under there, but technically that's not true since they've always been white since the 1800s. Remember we went and we saw at least Mexicans have been classified as white since the 1830s? Like, so how are you being discriminated against, yet you were allowed to marry white people while we weren't? Doesn't make sense. Okay? So you can read the rest of this if you want, but I just want to point out federal classification. So this is not a joke. This is federal government criteria. Okay? And you can go to suspect classification for greater detail. Okay? We're going to close that out. Okay? And it's the same thing with this. Remember the suspect classification and then strict scrutiny. So you can write that down. Suspect classification and strict scrutiny. The court has consistently found that classifications based on race, national origin, or alienage require strict scrutiny review. So anything having to do with race, nationality, or alienage require strict scrutiny review. Okay? So let's get into why this is even relevant. Because remember, I showed you this part, right? And I told you we was going to watch something on the homosexual agenda, which has to do with the difference between civil rights and special rights. Okay? None of these other groups, which include Latinos, were fighting for civil rights. Negroes are the only ones in this country who fought for civil rights. So nobody else should be trying to claim our shit. Right? And I'm going to explain, like I said, I'm going to explain why. And we're going to do it by using the homos as an example. All right? Let's get it.
I have a dream
just out of pure logic for black people to be discriminated against solely on the basis of color.
Y'all can hear it?
1964 and 65 Civil Rights Act was clearly something that needed to be done in order to hold up the whole notion of justice in our country.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Again, to paraphrase Dr. King, I may not get there with you, but someday...
All right, so you're going to see what this homosexual does, right? What this homo does is he changes the words of what Dr. King said, right? In order for him to apply Dr. King's words to faggots, right? And this is why I think homosexuals are evil and they're wicked as hell, right? Because they've done shit like this where they've literally stolen out of black people's mouths the things that we have died for. These dudes, they weren't dying for shit, okay? Let me turn the light back on for a second. Okay, and I gotta... Okay, so look at this. You're going to see the immutable characteristics. A behavior is not an immutable characteristic. A complexion is, though. One is born this way, the other one is a moral ethical choice. Okay, but this is the most important thing. Look, they've never been financially discriminated against, ever. And we're talking about homosexuals here. So African Americans, our average household income was about $12,000 back in the 70s and 80s. Okay, homosexuals, this is talking about their household now, 55K, 56K. Percentage of college graduates, only 5% of African Americans in the 70s and 80s were graduating college. Out of fags, 60% were. So you can see they've been doing better than us across the board. You understand? So what reason do they have to have any right for civil rights? I don't know. But, you know, that's beyond me. We're just going to prove a point here on why not all these minority groups they're just using us.
And we shall enter the promised land, where men and women will not be judged by their sexual...
Now look at this shit.
To paraphrase Dr. King, I may not get there with you, but someday we shall enter the promised land, where men and women will not be judged by their sexual desires, but by the content of their character.
You see how wicked and evil that was? It's almost like they're making a mockery of what our people have gone through, what Negroes have gone through. And look at the crowd. Overwhelmingly who? Overwhelmingly who? How are any of these people minorities? How are any of these, and of course this one coon out here. How are any of these people, maybe he's Hispanic though. But how many of these people out here are minorities? See that? So why do they get anything having to do with civil rights, right?
Many fail to notice Mr. Kramer's substitution of the word sexual behavior for skin color as he misquoted the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. Thus began the 1993 March on Washington for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender equal rights.
The 1993 March on Washington for lesbian, gay, and bisexual equal rights and liberation comes...
Okay, so 1993 was this changing point. You understand? Where they managed to fuck it up. Right? 1993. Just keep that in mind.
30 years after...
Now, this was... when were the race riots of L.A. again? 1992. Right? And just a year later, they had homosexuals infiltrate into civil rights and erode the civil rights. And now they're whooping our ass and shooting and killing us, and we're trying to claim civil rights which have expired. But anyway.
After the 63 march that Dr. King immortalized because I Have a Dreamscape. And for us, this is a continuation of that.
Now listen to this shit.
Civil rights struggle.
Now homosexuals are using not only the language, but they're beginning to
listen to what this brother says. It's crucial.
Insist that the statutes, the laws, all of the advantages gained by civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King be now applied to homosexuals.
Pause. There's no such thing as gay rights. Those are special rights. You don't have a right to be. Nobody's stopping you from being a homo. You understand what I'm saying? So for them to compare their situation to ours is disrespectful. And in much to the same regard, for Latinos to compare their situation to ours is disrespectful.
We are an emerging, sort of the emerging latest great civil rights movement of the 90s.
Are you hearing this? They are comparing what they are doing to what black people died for. Listen.
We are an emerging, sort of the emerging latest great civil rights movement of the...
Now, what civil rights have any of them had violated? What civil rights? And it's the same thing with Latinos. Latinos have to tell you what civil rights have been discriminated against for them. They would have to tell you.
The 90s.
Currently, there is a movement in this country that threatens to undermine and belittle the entire civil rights effort.
Right. It's an attempt to undermine and belittle everything that the Civil Rights 1960 had set up, right? So what the white government has allowed to be done is for that all the rights which we thought we had earned for ourselves in the 50s and 60s would now be eroded and distributed to everybody else. So it's kind of like, okay, the Civil Rights 1960 would be the equivalent to buying some Hennessy, right? You know that the more water you put inside the Hennessy, the more ice you put in the Hennessy, the more diluted it gets when the ice melts into water, right? So that means that, yeah, I may have put, half a cup of Hennessy inside my cup, but it depends on how much ice I put in there, which determines the strength of the Hennessy, right? So the Hennessy, that's ironic, the Hennessy is a Civil Rights Act 1960. Now the little ice cubes are these minority groups that they just come up with, right? Now notice how there weren't any other minorities in this nation besides Negroes. We know that because Hispanic Mexicans were considered white as of the 1830s. Okay, so the only minorities that are being spoken about are colored folks, according to history. All right. So if you keep creating minority groups, just like they're doing now you got a minority trans species, trans age, transracial. These are now going to be considered minority groups if they're not already. Hispanic, homosexual. None of them fit any of the three criteria. Remember the three criteria we got to go by. Remember and don't forget it. Immutable characteristics, financial discrimination, and political weakness. They would have to prove how they have all three of these things. You understand?
Of the 1960s.
Homosexuals have equal rights under the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the state constitution of every state in which they reside.
Right. So there are no laws preventing this fuckery, okay, from going down. There are no laws prohibiting them from doing this type of nasty shit.
But the issue here today is special rights.
And it's the same with Latinos. Latinos want special rights.
Special category of protection. They want to be elevated from a behavior-based lifestyle to a true minority status.
And this is the same with Latinos. They want to be elevated from a culture to a race. Do you understand what's being said? And hang on a second. I got to plug this guy in. He fucking up. Just in case. Then you call me. Other than that, very simple. Alright, ready?
Homosexuals have equal rights under the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the state constitution.
Now, homosexuals have always had equal rights under the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment. So they've never had any laws made against them.
Constitution of every state in which they reside. But the issue here today is special rights. It's special category of protection. They want to be elevated from a behavior-based life.
Now, again, I'm going to make the comparison with any other minority group. In this case, we're using Latinos. Latinos did the same thing homos did. They jumped on the bandwagon and hijacked our shit. Except they pretended to be our friends. You see, homos didn't pretend to be our friends. Homos pretended to be black women's friends. You understand? And that's where we got to understand.
Style to a true minority status that would give them special rights.
Once we get our rights, we want to have fun.
It's an effort.
Now, what do you mean once we get our rights? Like, if you've had regular rights the whole entire time, what rights are you talking about? Exactly. They're talking about sped rights so that they can go out, do that shit in public, and then not have anybody judge them for it. Do you understand what I'm saying? They want to create laws which force their homosexuality on you. You know, you want to know what that's going to lead to? I'm going to show you in scripture because you know we deal with the Torah. I'm going to show you. Watch this. I'm going to show you a pack of homos. How am I forgetting, what the fuck? Yo, who remembers that portion in the scriptures where the guy goes to a town and he brings the two angels with him? And the whole town wanted to have sex with the two angels to the point where they fiended out so much they bust down the door to try and fuck these who they were thought were men. That's how gay they were. They were rapist gays who were so sexually promiscuous that they were gonna bust down this dude's house and his door so that they can fuck these two dudes in the ass. Right? Yeah, like this is in scripture. And I'm telling you, they was trying to molest these dudes that they didn't know were angels. And the angels diced their ass up. You understand? Like, and this is the same shit that's gonna happen. As you see, well, it is happening. The pedophilia, the Pizzagate, you name it, it's going down. You understand? A homo could come up to you and force himself on you. You punch that motherfucker in the face, you going to jail. Like, this shit crazy. What is it called? It's Genesis, Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, I know that, but I need the actual case. Let me see. See if I can find it, because it's not working. I guess it's in Deuteronomy where... No, it's Deuteronomy 19. So it's got to be 18 then. No. It's 19. Right? So remember the two angels arrived in Sodom in the evening? Right? Or whatever. And he was trying to tell them, like, listen, this town ain't right. So y'all don't want to stay here. Don't stay here. And the angels was like, nah, we staying here tonight. And we staying right there in the square, in the public square. And this dude was insisting strongly, like, nah, come stay in the house, man. Come stay in the house. And then look, this is what I want to show you. This was going on here. Before they had gone to bed, all the Bati men, from every part of the city, that means this whole city was a bunch of Batima in them. This whole city was Atlanta, right? Both young and old surrounded the house. So how you surround the house? Both young and old homos surrounded the house. They called to Lot. Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Like, who does that? But imagine a whole bunch of niggas with tiki torches coming to your crib talking about them two niggas you just brought in there. Bring them out. Bring them out. We trying to see what that ass about. Toot that ass up. It's finna be a breeze. Okay? It finna be a breeze. Well, look, Lot went outside to them, and this is how crazy it is, because it wasn't finna be a breeze, because wasn't nobody finna toot no ass up, especially no angels. You understand what I'm saying? Wasn't no angels gonna toot no ass up, man. Okay, talking about tooting it. You better get out of here with that. So look, Lot went out. Lot even went to give them some pussy. Lot said, hey, man, why don't you have my daughters? Why don't you have my daughters, man? She got some pussy. Go ahead and take that. But don't fuck these angels in the ass. Just don't try and fuck these angels in the ass. Right? That's what he's saying. Fuck my daughter. Don't fuck these angels. How you give up your daughters so that these people don't want to fuck angels? Right? Exactly. Lot wasn't the smartest. But this is what he did. Here he goes. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Don't rape these angels. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept. He had two virgin daughters. So not only were they not whores, but they didn't sleep with anything. Fresh pussy. Right? And then the nigga goes, let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like to them. So this nigga's wicked as hell, because he gonna give up his daughters and let them be molested. But anyway, but don't do anything to these men, for they come under protection of my roof. And how did these homosexuals reply? Get out the way. Get out my face. Move, nigga. Get out the way. Get out the way, nigga. Get out the way. Right? They went ludicrous on that ass. Okay? And this fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. So they're condemning Lot. They said, hey, nigga, you ain't even really from around these parts. Okay? We fuck booty around here, and that's what we gonna do. Okay? So he went around and he said, we'll treat you worse than them. So then them niggas threatened to rape Lot. You understand what I'm saying? They said, hey, man, if you don't let us fuck these angels in the ass, we gonna fuck you in the ass, too. And you niggas is lying because of the way I'm narrating this. But this is in scripture. This ain't no joke. You understand? So I'm telling you, Sodom and Gomorrah. What do you see when homosexuals, a pack of homosexuals are together? They start to get brave, don't they? They start to get extra flamboyant because they reinforcing each other's fagness, right? What do you think happened if a whole town of them were sodomites? A whole town. Look what it says. It said the young boys and the old men. So these niggas was gay for multiple generations. Okay? And this is the type of shit that be happening. Look, they wanted to, listen, if a whole town of people came banging on your door talking about them two niggas in that room right there, bring them out. We trying to fuck. And if you don't bring them out, we gonna fuck you. What would you do? I would have did the same thing Lot did. I'm